This forum is intended to provide you, the public, with information regarding the use of smart meters from PG&E. Since the beginning of installation process for the PG&E smart meters, my office has fielded a number, I'll say a number, hundreds of concerns from my constituents. The concerns have been widely varied and have ranged from accuracy of meter billing, from health and environmental risk, to security and privacy issues. These are all concerns that have been raised by the members of the community as to the accuracy, health impacts, security, and potential fire hazards as well. In order to provide constituents with the most accurate information, my office has shared this information with PG&E directly, as well as directing questions and concerns to PG&E Smart Meters Hotline. My office had been working with extremely limited resources over the last few weeks with concerned citizen groups, some of who are represented on the panel here, as well as with PG&E to bring information to the community in order to allow the public to make informed decisions. This forum was intended to provide a broad spectrum and a balanced format that presents accurate information and gives the public access to informed experts. But as you can see, I don't think there are any empty chairs, but we do not, oh, we do have an empty chair right next to me. And there are some empty chairs. There's one empty chair. My office had been working with PG&E to facilitate this meeting, and I do appreciate having Marcia and Harold here from the California Public Utilities Commission from the regulatory perspective. I received a text message this afternoon from a PG&E representative letting me know that due to format changes... Can you turn it up? We can't hear back. You can't hear? How about if I speak louder? Okay.
Just use the mic better.
You can probably get everyone critical at once.
Can I use the mic now? So much better, okay. I'm going to have to do this so that I can actually see. So this afternoon, I received a text message from a PG&E representative that due to format changes, which included the ability for the public to address their concerns in an open format, which I fully support, and changes that were made supposedly by the county last week, that they no longer feel that they can have a meaningful dialogue with customers. And based on that comment, I think that they have essentially made certain the fact that this will not be a meaningful dialogue back and forth as this forum, as far as asking their experts not to attend. PG&E up to Monday afternoon had added another speaker, and the county adhered to this change and was flexible in such action. I do find it rather insulting that they would not participate at last minute in this forum that would have reflected the varying viewpoints and given an opportunity to present information and would have been made themselves available to answer questions as well that you, the public, not only have, but I myself as an elected representative. So I do believe it is critical to have an open, public, and frank dialogue with a balanced perspective that would take place prior to the smart meter program having been imposed. So with that said, my agenda is slightly shifting, and in place of the PG&E representatives that would have spoken to the issues pertaining to radio frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies, and smart meters, we will make time for a discussion around Prop 16. So at this moment, what I will do is I'll introduce our first two speakers that are going to speak to the health risks of wireless technology and exposure. We have Dr. Jeffrey Faucet as well as Lena Berman, and we'll begin with Dr. Jeffrey Faucet.
The first thing I want to do is I want you all to give yourself a firm round of applause for scaring away the wealthiest public utility in the United States. going to cut short my comments and give you the meat. I was going to open by saying, in response to the now absent EMF experts, that there is ample evidence for a reasonable person to conclude that exposures to radio frequency radiation of the type emitted by smart meters poses a health risk. And now I want to go on to what I really think my purpose in being here is focused on, which is to make noise. I suspect that to some extent I'm speaking to the choir, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. How many people here either are uncertain about or do not want a smart meter on their home?
100%, close to 100%.
When you walk in here tonight, you can have two choices. You can have a smart meter put on your house, or you could, whoa, what was that? Or you could have your power turned off. And PG&E, in my contacts with their customer service number for smart meters, were very happy, and then sometimes aggressively happy, to tell me that those were my choices. When you walk out of here tonight, those will still be your choices. So what I want to talk to you about is how to change those choices. And the way that you change those choices is by making noise like you just did. The way that you make noise is that you work with organizations like EMF Safety Network and TURN. You contact regulatory and legislative leaders in this fight. And there are sample letters that EMF Safety Network has back at the table that you can submit to PG&E, the CPUC, and most importantly, from my perspective, to State Senator Dean Flores. Dean Flores has taken a lead on this issue because he represents a district that includes Bakersfield, which was the first area that had meters, smart meters installed, and experienced huge increases in bills. Caused a storm. Senator Flores' focus up until now has been the accuracy of meters, and recently enabled the CPUC to hire an engineering firm, I believe, from Texas, to conduct over a $1 million study on the accuracy of these meters. It's supposed to take something like a year. My understanding from Senator Flores' office is that they will also be looking into the security of those meters. What I would like you to do, in addition to sending letters to the CPUC telling them that you do not want smart meters, and to PG&E that you do not want smart meters, I want you to write to them and say you want an option to opt out. And I want you to write to Senator Flores and the Senate Select Committee on Smart Grid Technology, recently formed to hold hearings into these issues. They're holding a hearing on the accuracy of the meters this Monday in Sacramento. And I want you to write them, and I want you to impress upon his office that they need to look into not only the accuracy of the meters, but the health effects, the environmental effects, the security issues, the privacy issues, and the accuracy, and the safety issues, and most importantly, that you have a choice. That is the most important thing you do. It is not enough to simply complain that you don't want one of these things on your house. You need to tell them what you want to do, what you want them to do. The politics of this thing is PG&E doesn't want you to have a choice at all. The CPUC, if the only voice that they hear is PG&E, there won't be a choice. So you need to tell them. But you also need to tell the legislature that you want them to pay attention to what the CPUC is doing so that your views and your needs are met. Now, if there is anyone in the audience who wants a smart meter, and this is good information for you folks too. There's actually, well, let me actually go through the notes as I had them. If you want a smart meter, understand that if a wireless smart meter is installed on your house, you are getting second-rate technology. You're getting second-rate technology. It's widely recognized that fiber optic to the home is greater bandwidth, greater speed, and it avoids all the issues related to the wireless version of the smart meter. So you're getting second-rate technology. Why settle? People who want these meters should join with people who want the option to opt out, because they're not getting a choice either. They just get one of these things slapped on their house. And there is absolutely no reason why PG&E cannot work with internet service providers like Sonic.net in working out delivery of fiber optic to the home to take care of all those needs. So, you may or may not want to promote that idea. There's another issue here that's ironic, is that in addition to getting a wireless smart meter on your house, or getting your power cut off, some people have a third option. And that third option, keeping with concern with energy efficiency, is going solar. Hold on, wait for the irony. The irony is that if you have a solar installation put up on your home and you're hooked up to the grid, you cannot have a smart meter on your house, because the meters that they install have to be bidirectional, so they can measure the flow of electricity in both directions. Smart meters don't do that. And in addition, a meter reader comes out every month and reads that bidirectional meter to record your usage during that month. So the infrastructure for the existing meters, for those who want to opt out, exists and will have to exist so long as PG&E supports solarization of houses. So there's technically no reason why PG&E cannot offer an opt-out option for people who wish it. In addition to writing letters, I would also urge you to organize. Form a smart meter free zone in your neighborhood, in your building. Talk to your friends, family, organizations, not only here, but throughout California, and get them to contact Senator Flores' committee, have them pay attention to what's happening in this, broaden the scope of the investigations that they're undertaking. Again, I really am thrilled that you're here, that you've done the work that you've done, and PG&E is hearing your voice. They're hearing the noise. Keep making it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Faucet. And introductions are usually done at the beginning, but I forgot to introduce Dr. Faucet, who is a PhD as a writer, independent scholar, and health educator, and also is a principal author with Lena Berman, who's also on our panel, who recently published the book, Too Much Medicine, Not Enough Health. So they do co-produce the weekly Your Own Health and Fitness radio show. So our next speaker is going to be Lena Berman.
So you're going to have to imagine that this talk, which I toiled over and sweat blood over and got a sore throat over, yes, been perfectly healthy all year, and then the idea of coming up against PG&E's highly paid experts, who some of you have Googled and know enough about, so I don't even have to defame their reputations now that I have a chance. I will stay above that. I'm going to go ahead and read the speech. Just keep in mind that this was initially intended to be a response to what they were going to say. Also, before I do any further, please, I really want to thank Ephraim Carrillo and Jim Letty. This is what it's like to have elected representatives who listen to you, so we should bask. I mean, there's no better place to live than West County. This is it. This is the place to live. Look at this crowd. So here goes the talk. And I actually thought there would be some maybe paid PG&E people in the crowd to harass us. So this is the way it's written, and here it comes. You people aren't stupid. Where is PG&E? Where are the smart meter experts? They're not here because they don't want to tell you the real numbers. We were warned that we're being sent to the lions coming here. We're consumer advocates and volunteer radio journalists. We're here because the county couldn't afford an industry expert to speak for us, for our environment, and for our children. PG&E has already spent lots of money trying to convince you that everything is okay. This is your money, by the way. This is how the industry prevents regulation and legislative action. They create paralysis and doubt. You know that industry-funded research shows less harm than independent studies. You guys know this. You guys know the research. This is how toxic substances are introduced. All these biologically and socially damaging technologies are an assault for profit. It doesn't matter which industry you choose. These advocates are fronts, they are highly organized, they and the industries have to be addressed. We were told that cigarettes were safe, that lead in gas and paint was safe, asbestos, mercury, pesticides, ionizing radiation, the list goes on and on and on. Industry experts, paid industry experts, they're toxic. They've been covering this research. We've been covering this research on the air for 12 years. There is no question in my mind about harm. None. And I've read a lot of research. We know that the military suppressed their research because it showed harm as far back as the 1960s. And some of that research on very low-level exposures has been repeated today. Alan Fry's research on blood-brain barrier breaches, neuron death, repeated by Leif Southward. You guys know this research. The DNA strand breaks. The list is long, and it's impressive. Just go to the EMFSafetyNetwork.org, go to cloutnow.org, go to the bioinitiative.org, and read the research. Now, I see lots of people in my practice suffering from debilitating symptoms that abate when they remove their exposure to these low levels of wireless RF. I see this with my own eyes. Hyperarousal, high blood pressure, panic attacks, cognitive symptoms, vertigo, ringing in the ears, insomnia, even depression. It's the way in which the RF is delivered. It's pulse modulated. It's off and on signal with higher peak pulses. It's low intensity. At whatever frequency it's delivered, it's all bioactive and toxic. Anyway, how can PG&E possibly defend submitting compliance evaluations to the FCC on a meter in isolation? There are walls of meters being installed on the sides of buildings with babies sleeping on the other side. Even if it complies in some modes, you can't predict the traffic on it. You can't know the environment in which it's being placed in terms of its presenting and its pre-existing RF load. So you absolutely can't accept the representatives by the industry. These meters are not okay to use. And this is before the entire system has been deployed, and it's additional antennas and collection meters. So all this stuff that's coming out about low-level exposures, there is going to be an accumulative exposure, an exponential exposure, when this whole system is deployed. It's not 1 meter, and it also isn't bursting, as they say, once every hour. It's bursting every minute or so from independent measurements. If expert groups that are now studying the carcinogenic and neurotoxic effects of RF have not yet decided, who are they to say it's fine? There has been no discussion before the CPUC on potential RF risks, and there should have been. But this isn't a debate at all now on technology. This is a civil rights issue. I thought we lived in a capitalist democracy where we have the right to protect ourselves in our homes, our health, and most of all, our right to choose our exposures. This is trespassing. What happened to privacy, to security? Who gets to decide about these information breaches? This appalling technology that isn't working when fiber optic is so quickly coming to our homes as companies race each other to provide the fastest, most secure option. Imagine a community with little to no RF, where there are few antennas sited far from homes, schools, and churches, where fiber optic supplies broadband and other meter reading that includes rooftop solar, where communities have community-owned utilities as an option that buys energy from clean energy suppliers. Imagine that. Where migratory birds, children, bee colonies, and our forests are safe. Imagine that. A place that feels quiet and calm instead of buzzy and overwhelming. Imagine that. What do I want you to do? You're already doing it. Don't let them get away with murder. Can we stop them?
Yes.
Say that again. Okay. We're not going away. We will stop this here. Go to the table in the back for the EMF Safety Network. Sign 3 letters. 1 to be sent to PG&E saying that you do not want a smart meter. Send another one to the CPUC, who is here today. Tell them that you want an opt-out option. And a third one, as Jeffrey said, to the Senate Select Committee on Smart Grid Technology in Senator Dean Flores' office, and tell them you want them to hold hearings on the broad range of health issues, environmental issues, security, privacy, performance, safety, jobs, and choice. You want the Flores Committee to make sure that the CPUC does its job protecting citizens and consumers. We don't need more wireless. There are better options, and since we're paying for this, we will insist on having them. So as they said in Cochabamba, Bolivia, when they got their water rights back, people united can never be defeated.
Dr. Faucet and Lena originally had 15 minutes, but since there was an empty chair, I let them go a little longer. At this point, I would like to introduce Mindy Spant, who's the Communication Director for the Utility Reform Network, to speak around cost efficiency and other issues.
Thank you. I want to thank Jeffrey and Mike for including us. Just to start off, I wanted to say a little bit about TURN. TURN's been fighting for small ratepayers since 1973. Some of you may remember. Sylvia Siebel, our governor, who never let PG&E ignore her. Never. That was how TURN started, and that's still where we're at. We're the largest utility consumer group in the United States with a staff of 18, And we believe energy can be clean, green, and affordable, and so we're fighting for clean energy at the lowest prices for consumer in everything we do. Since they're not here, I'll tell you a bit about PG&E. PG&E is, as Jeff said, I think the wealthiest utility in the United States. They've got over 5 million electric customers and over 4 million gas customers. They are a national leader in smart meters. They've got over 2 million installed already, and they're doing about 15,000 a day. They're not just installing smart meters, they love them. Why does PG&E love smart meters? Why do they love anything? Because it's profitable. They're getting a 12% authorized rate of return and 4 billion approved ratepayer funding. I'm sorry, 2.2 billion for PG&E. It's an excuse to reduce their union workforce, eliminating thousands of good-paying entry-level jobs. And you know what else? They can shut off customers who don't pay remotely, and they have indeed increased their shutoffs since they started with these smart meters. So, we know why PG&E likes them. Turn has never liked them, and we've been saying they were a dumb idea since about 2005. Why don't we like them? What's there to like? They don't save electricity and they don't save money. So from our perspective, that's a lose-lose for the customers. They're not even supposed to save electricity. All they do is track electric usage, just like their older, dumber predecessors. In order to sort of enjoy the great benefits that PG&E has been touting, you would have to purchase a lot of additional equipment for your own house on your own dime. This communications network, various devices that will enable, for example, your refrigerator or your toaster to talk to your meter, to talk to your computer. And for this, the vision here is that you all are going to want to spend a lot of time sitting in front of your computers, watching the price of your toast going from 15 cents a kilowatt hour to 17 cents a kilowatt hour, and making decisions on whether or not to toast your bread on that basis. So from our perspective, this didn't seem worth $2.2 billion for customers. And in fact, we found it to be the most expensive rather than least expensive way to accomplish what supposedly our state is trying to accomplish, which is peak load shifting. We have a program now called air conditioned recycling that turns supports, that's much cheaper, that can basically avoid peak load problems, which we haven't had much since Enron got out of town anyhow. For reducing energy consumption, we like things like clotheslines, power strips, white roofs, weatherization. All of those are things that if you spend your money on them, you're going to use less energy and you're going to save money in the end. The meters, again, will do neither. They won't save you money and they won't save you energy. And they certainly won't reduce your carbon emissions, as actually reducing your consumption will. So if those are the goals, the meters are not going to get us there. So we were sort of a lone voice in the wilderness for several years, not only here in California, but nationally, as it seems to be a love affair with any new technology, especially if it's smart. And you know, just again, PG&E is not here, I'll tell you something else about it. They have lots of smart stuff. They don't just have smart meters, they have a smart rate program. They have a climate smart program. I think they've got some other smart programs too. So it's smart, everyone likes it. For years we're saying we don't like these meters. Finally, when they start being installed in actual people's homes, people start listening to us because consumers are all of a sudden up in arms. They don't like them either. It started in Bakersfield, and we had a call from a reporter in Bakersfield. Her name's Lois Henry. She says to me, you know, I was at the beauty parlor, and everyone was talking about their PG&E bill. They all claimed that PG&E bill's gone up. And from this, she started writing about it, and the more she wrote about it, the more people started writing to her and calling Turn and saying, yeah, my bill went up too. Senator Dean Flores, who Jeff mentioned, held several public hearings in Bakersfield. 300 people people came out to a public hearing that lasted for 5 hours. 5 hours, 300 people. Turns received hundreds of complaints, more than we have certainly ever received in the history of our organization on one issue. I'll give you a small sampling of them. We own 2 houses in Rio Vista. One house has been vacant since May 2009, and a smart meter was installed in October. When we received our first smart meter bills, we'll call them smart bills for short, for November, the bill for the vacant house tripled. It went from about $25 per month to over $87. This is a vacant house with no furniture and no one living there. Number 2, after a new device, smart meter, was installed at my home, our monthly usage went from 700 or 800 kilowatts to 2,150 kilowatts. Here's another one. Smart meter testimonial number 3. Since the installation of smart meter, my electric usage is being read at double the amount compared to last year. There's no reason for an increase. All of my major appliances are labeled Energy Star. After installing the smart meter, my bill has increased so drastically I cannot pay it. And you know, that's obviously from our perspective the big fear. When customers, and you know what PG&E says the problem is here? Basically they say, oh, the meter is fine, it's just that you don't realize how high your rates are. So it's one or the other. Either the meter is not reading it correctly, or indeed PG&E is right, and people just don't realize how high their electric rates are. But more importantly, these meters aren't helping people to reduce their usage, obviously, or to even understand their usage. So from our perspective, the question is, what is the meter for? What is the justification of the expense? You know, they've said a lot of things since then. First, they said the old meters were running slow. Does anyone in this room believe that for years, PG&E was underbilling the entire state and never said a word about it? Not in the PEC, not in public, not anywhere. Does anyone believe that? So, okay, then they realized that was pretty over the top, and they said, oh, the meters are more sensitive to power surges. Power surges, some people were saying, well, no, the power surges were actually caused by the meter, PG&E. Customers started asking to have the old meter put back and said, can you show me that the 2 meters are the same? PG&E said, we don't need to, we can assure you that your meter's fine. But in fact, when some of the TV reporters like KPIX, they went and got their own expert, and they went to the home of one of these consumers who had complained. They put the old meter back, and sure enough, the PG&E meter was, the smart meter was done. It was recording the wrong amount. KPIX goes to PG&E and says, but look, we see. And they said, no, just one isolated case. Okay. So, what's happening now? Dean Flores, Turn, and many others have demanded an independent investigation by the Public Utilities Commission. The Commission has started an investigation. We're not quite sure, we don't know all the details yet. Certainly we know they're going to look at the meters. We hope they're going to look at the transmittal of the data from the meter to PG&E, because there's been a lot of allegations that the reason all these bills are inaccurate are because somehow the meter and the transmittal is wrong, rather than the meter itself. There's also been some allegations of meters exploding and other safety hazards. We want to see every single case like that looked into. And we think that all consumer complaints have to be heard, every single one. Every consumer who says their meter's inaccurate should have an opportunity to have it looked at. Turn thinks there should be a smart meter moratorium in the meantime. If you don't know, if you don't know if the meters are working, then why do you keep putting them in? I mean, isn't that just logic? And we're also concerned to realize that the firm hired to do the investigation, the Structure Group, has a lot of close ties to... Who else? Who else? So we're looking forward to what we hope will be an independent investigation. We do hope that also that consumer and customer voices will be part of that investigation, and we've asked for consumers and customers to be included in an oversight committee that the PUC has for the investigation. And again, we think until then, there's no need to put any more in. I also just want to note that there's a lot of concern about the data itself, that there's a bit of a big brother issue here. We know that our phone companies have freely given our information to the government, just for the asking. We want to give PG&E that same opportunity. So we know that Dean Flores is also concerned about this, and we do think there have to be adequate customer safeguards to make sure that the data is not misused or sold. And thank you very much. We look forward to your support on the
Now I'd like to introduce Marcia Jafar with the California Public Utilities Commission, as well as Harold Williams, also with the California Public Utilities Commission. And you guys have been wonderful so far. You've been very respectful, and I would like to continue to ask you to be respectful throughout the entire forum. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Jafar. Actually, I had a meeting in Los Angeles today at 11 a.m. and I came down here to make sure that we attend this. I don't have any prepared remarks. I don't have any prepared remarks, but I do like to make a few short statements in addressing some of the concerns that have been voiced. First, before I forget, we have hired an independent evaluator that Mindy mentioned, the structure group. It is, they have absolutely no ties with PG&E. PG&E had no idea that we hired this firm. This is a firm in Houston, Texas. So if PG&E went all the way to Houston, Texas, to our knowledge, there's absolutely no ties. And in respect to the evaluation, they're going to do a full evaluation. They're going to check the Bakersfield customers and also the Fresno customers, as well as doing an accuracy test of the meter. We should be getting the results of the evaluation sometime in July, if not sooner, and we will make that public as soon as we get that. The main reason that we're here is to get your feedback to the PUC, to the 5 commissioners, to hear your concerns, what they are, and give it back to the commissioners. That's our purpose here. And it is absolutely unacceptable that PG&E bailed in the last minute. They told us as of yesterday. I actually emailed our commissioner offices today, right when Jim told me that they bailed, to let them know that it was because it was through a text message, and we will make sure to address that with PG&E as soon as possible. A few concerns that were raised that I wanted to address, or a few issues. One is that Bakersfield was not the first city that received the smart meters. The cities were actually, I can't specifically name which ones they were, but they're in Northern California, not in Central California. Almost 100 million smart meters have been installed throughout the world. PG&E is not the only one. Smart meters are not manufactured by PG&E. They're actually most of the smart meters that PG&E has are through General Electric, and they're installed. And to my knowledge, there is no ties between PG&E and General Electric.
Hey folks, let's be respectful.
Someone mentioned that smart meters are not compatible with solar homes. I don't believe that's correct. They are compatible with solar homes. Every meter, every single meter has been tested by the manufacturer. Every single meter. That's what we've been told by the PUC. The radio frequency, the RF issues, they are not under the jurisdiction of the PUC. That's a complete, total jurisdiction of the FCC. So if there are any concerns regarding RF, it would be with the FCC. Just a note about smart meters and smart grid. I think President Obama in his inaugural speech promoted a smarter grid. The grid that's basically right now we have is over 100 years old. What it does is it takes power from, it does work, but it's not as efficient. It's not as efficient as we want it to be. We don't want power, we don't want more power plants. That's the whole idea for a smarter grid. We want decentralized power. We don't want the power that comes from power plants. We don't want to build more power plants. In order to do that, we have to create a grid. We have to build a grid that allows renewable sources to feed into it easier. In order to build a grid, smart meter is a tiny portion of a smart grid. Once you have a smart grid, the consumers have more choice. You'll be able to see and change your behavior accordingly. We won't have to build new power plants because the supply is limited. The demand keeps growing and the supply is limited. So the choice is either build power plants or create a system that's more efficient. And what we've decided, what the US as a country has decided is to build, what President Obama has said, is to build a more efficient system rather than build power plants. Does anyone want us to build power plants and have transmission lines everywhere? No. So you have to make a choice, and the choice was a smart grid. A smart meter is one step towards a smart grid. The last point that I wanted to make, and we're here to answer questions and also to, like I said, to take your feedback at PUC commissioners. We have received less than 1,000 smart meter complaints. Less than 1,000. Over 5 million smart meters have been installed in the PG&E territory, San Diego territory, and Edison territory. That doesn't include the 5 million. They have their own numbers. And we've received less than 1,000 complaints. So to put that in perspective and tell the commissioners, well, there's been 5 million, 6 million meters, and we have less than 1,000. That's 1%. That doesn't mean that it's not significant, but it's less than 1,000 complaints compared to almost 5 to 6 million smart meters installed. Regarding complaints, if anyone has complaints, to my left is Harold Williams, who's in charge of the complaint. So if you have a specific complaint, I would refer to and one other thing I want to mention.
I wish I could do the same.
One other point I wanted to make is Texas has similar issues with the smart meter deployment. I believe the last time I heard there were about 5,000 customers wanting to complain and ask their smart meters to be tested. But when they did, most of those customers didn't have smart meters. And it was more, they thought they had the meters, they did not. They were fearful that they had the smart meter and their bills were high, but it turned out that they didn't have it. In any case, less than 1,000 complaints, over 5 million installed. So I'll turn it over to Harold, and we will make sure that PG&E either organizes another smart meter event here to answer your questions, or tells us exactly why they bailed in the last minute, because it is unacceptable.
Good evening. My name is Harold Williams. I'm one of the supervisors in the Consumer Affairs branch of the Commission. What we do in Consumer Affairs branch is actually handle complaints or disputes that you may have with utilities, not only PG&E. We do handle telco complaints, water complaints, and of course energy complaints. We actually have a process that's in place, and we're literally driven by your letters, your faxes, your emails. This allows us to send complaints directly to the utilities that you actually have a dispute with. When you do send those, what we do in our process is we actually, on your behalf, we take the correspondence that we receive from you and actually send it directly to the utility. Within our process, they have to respond within inside of 20 to 30 days. So in that response, what we're looking for is hopefully a resolution on your disputes. We do receive a lot of phone calls for different complaints with different utilities, but the phone calls a lot of times are based on billing disputes and issues that we can pretty much handle because we have a call center also that our representatives can actually link you with the utilities that you actually have a dispute with, and hopefully we can work on a resolution over the phone. What our folks are instructed to do is if you feel that there is no resolution from the complaint that you get from the link up that we do on the phone, we then ask you to write your complaint. Once the complaint, again, is written and sent to us, we send you an acknowledgement letter, which then gives you a case number within our process. So what it does do allows you to have a vehicle to actually find out status if the complaint has not been answered. We're talking about, I guess the subject matter tonight is actually PG&E and smart meters. As Marcia said, we have not really received a lot of complaints since 5.5 million meters actually have been installed. And a lot of the complaints that we do receive are individuals saying they just don't want the smart meter, not because they have it, not because that they're actually having a billing issue. So if you're looking for change, and obviously there's a lot of solidarity here, what we do recommend is if you do have a complaint, you send it to us. You do send it in writing. The only thing I can promise is that we will process it and make sure that it gets into the right hands at the utility. And then they become responsible for giving you a response. The response is not only given to you, it's also given to us. So therefore, we can decide based on what we see if it's acceptable to close the case or not. When we say regulate, in a lot of instances, we can only regulate up to a certain point with some of these complaints. So in our process, it also allows you to, if you do not agree, if you feel that there's a mistake that's either made by us or the utility not addressing the actual complaint that you have, you are allowed to appeal within our process. If the appeal process doesn't work for you, the next level is actually taking it in front of one of our administrative law judges, which is the formal appeal. So we have a process in place, and we just really feel that if you feel there's a need, and obviously there's a need, that you use our process, and we try to do the best we can within our processes. Really, that's all I have to say. If you have questions, feel free. We also have forms in the back where it gives you our address. If you look at your bill, you can actually see our address. It's 505 Van Ness. It's on actually your utility bills.
Thank you for your presentation. Please We will have a Q&A in about 5 minutes, if you could just allow me. It was not the intent to bring the next subject for discussion, since we do have an empty slot on the speaker table up here. We will just briefly discuss Proposition 16, which is slated to be on the June ballot. I will just do it publicly here, that the Board of Supervisors unanimously voted to oppose Proposition 16. Renata Berlinger from the Climate Protection Campaign to just briefly speak about Prop 16.
There's a certain satisfaction in getting a slot that is a result of cancellations that happened tonight to get to talk about Prop 16. Thank you to Supervisor Carrillo's office for making that opportunity possible, and thank you to my daughter Lucy for coming up on stage, which isn't exactly her comfort zone. So I'm judging by the response to Supervisor Crio's announcement about the board decision yesterday that many of you know about Prop 16 and have an opinion about it already. Could I just see a show of hands as to how many people are familiar with Prop 16? Okay, well, I only need 3 minutes.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you for paying so much attention. Very briefly, Prop 16 will be on the June ballot. It's put on the ballot by PG&E, solely sponsored, solely funded by PG&E. In short, what it will do, and I guess I want to ask you to take note so that you can do your part to spread the word. That's really what we need, given how informed you all are. I don't have to convince you on the issue, but what we do need is a word-of-mouth campaign to inform other voters and get them out to vote no on Prop 16. What the proposition does is it would enshrine in the Constitution, it's a constitutional amendment, to require a 2/3 vote, supermajority, in any community that wants to effectively develop, even investigate or implement a program as an alternative to PG&E. Any kind of public power like Healdsburg has, a municipal utility district, any kind of program called like community choice aggregation, which is a complex but very powerful tool that I think we in Sonoma should be exploring. Basically gives local governments the authority to decide how much green energy they're going to purchase, where they're going to get it from, gives them the ability to bond, to build renewable energy resources, to do distributed community scale renewable development. These options would be off the table unless a supermajority supports that kind of program. We know how difficult it is to get a 2/3 vote on anything, anywhere, in any jurisdiction. So 3 reasons to vote against Prop 16 very, very briefly. Number 1, it would enshrine PG&E's monopoly. It would keep us captive in their decision-making about what kind of energy supply we're going to have, other decisions like the smart meter decision or other efficiency programs that would basically be entirely up to them. This is bad economics and bad politics. Number 2, the rates that we pay would be subject to PG&E and CPUC's oversight, with the CPUC's oversight. We would not have any alternatives to creating public power options that would be competitive or possibly even cheaper than PG&E. The third reason is to vote no on Prop 16 is that it's a constitutional amendment, getting further, digging us deeper into the 2/3 majority hole, paralyzing local government in responding to the climate crisis and in responding to the needs and opportunities in a given community. So this is PG&E's budgeting $35 million on this proposition. They've already put close to $30 million, I believe. Mindy, is that right? Into the
35. They're up to 35.
They're up to 35 now. So they may even spend more. They're buying all kinds of media. The No campaign has no money. The natural opponents on this are mostly local government, utility districts, irrigation districts. They're not allowed to spend money to campaign against this. So we really need your help. Using social media, using word of mouth, getting to people that wouldn't necessarily be paying the kind of attention you are. So please do what you can. This is an incredibly important turning point for us in our energy system, in our renewable energy future. So I urge you to get really involved and help get out the vote and get a no on Prop 16 vote. 7 of Sonoma County cities have passed resolutions to oppose it. So we're on the right track here, but we really need people to turn out and cast that vote. Thank you.
And once again, I apologize. PG&E isn't here to give the pro Prop 16 perspective.